Welcome to the March edition of the Bench Report. Today I'm coming to you from the piano at St. Barbara's here in Black Diamond. Thank you for those of you who are tuning in today. Got a little bit of a treat for you. Today's broadcast is a little bit more serious in nature than the previous two. The previous two, I will admit, they were experimental at best. So anyway, we have three topics to cover today. We have Lent, and the music for next Sunday's live stream. So let's get on with it. Today is the 5th Sunday of Lent, the season of Lent. We are deep into the heart of the season. And what the season of Lent is, it's the time of year where Christians around the world prepare for the Easter season, the coming of Christ, the resurrection of his body, and everything else that comes with that. Lent can be observed in a variety of ways. Perhaps one of the most common ideas people have is one would go without something for the season. Something in their lives that, it could be any number of things, usually something that is of a particular weakness to somebody, like greed or gluttony. I've heard people toss out the word chocolate. Let's see, what else? Lint, perhaps. Or just plain bad music. That's a good one to go without. Unless, of course, you like bad music and can't live without it. The opposite approach would be to do more of something that is of benefit to people or to society, like just being nicer to your neighbor, for example, or serving people. One of the examples we have going on in this parish here in Black Diamond is that every Lent there is a program where people donate 40 cans of food for each of the 40 days of Lent, and then that goes as an extra contribution to the local food bank here. Something else you might do in Lent to add to your life in a positive manner is maybe do something out of the ordinary, something you normally wouldn't do. For example, I briefly touched on last time that this parish, with everything being kind of in different operations because of the pandemic, but we have a lot of stuff going on online. What we have been doing this year, is that various ministries here have been preparing their own versions, their own videos of the Stations of the Cross readings. I did mention some of the different ministries last time that have been working on those videos. The Parish Council, the music ministry, we did our own. I'll touch on that a little bit later for those of you who missed the last edition. The religious ed program is doing 1 or 2 editions. I did just see the one that the younger kids put together. That was sent out to everybody this last Friday. Pretty darn cute. You got a bunch of little kids each taking turns reading one of the different Stations of the Cross, and wow, that's pretty precious. Another one was I forget what the name of that group was. Helping Hands, I think. No, the Wednesday night meal program. They did their own, in which they read the different stations, and then they also had pictures of what they had been doing throughout the year, pictures of serving the meals, some from before the pandemic and some during the pandemic, showing difference that would definitely show the differences in how they've been operating over the last year. So every ministry has had their own spin on their video edition of the Stations of the Cross. I did mention earlier that the music ministry, there were 3 of us who got together and we did our own. Doug did Doug Osgard, he did the video editing for our video, and he read the different stations, and he's got the perfect voice for it too, very kind of serious, which the subject matter is very serious anyway. I mean, you're talking about the last week of Jesus's life, where he is being sentenced to die, and then he's going through all the different stages of his upcoming death, and then of course the gradual kind of murder of him, so to speak, and then of course the final actual death. So, and Melinda sang a few songs on that one, a few hymns. And I played a bunch of really kind of rather more dark and serious, somber piano music behind a lot of it. So if you missed that, I will post that link again. You can find it on my page somewhere. I think it's only a few items down below this video. I'll post the link in here when I get home tonight too as well. Let's see here. So that's an example of something extraordinary we've done here. So anyway, the point of all of this, of what we do in the season of Lent, is it's really one important thing, and that is to help all of us draw closer to Christ, to God, as we prepare for the upcoming celebration of his resurrection, which is marked by the celebration of Easter. In order to properly do that, we do away with some of the garbage, or the lint, in our lives, if you will. We do away with stuff that really clutters up our lives and really kind of clouds our thinking and our judgment, and it really kind of gets in the way of how we do things spiritually, or it certainly can anyway. I guess some people kind of like a lot of clutter in their lives, and that's okay, but sometimes it's good to get rid of it too, even if just temporarily. So it helps us focus better on our worship, what we're doing in our worship, whether our reading of the scriptures, or it's prayer, or it's listening to music, or in my case, doing the music. And then of course the other thing is that it helps us better focus on other things that are important in our lives too. It all just kind of it kind of overflows into all sorts of areas of our lives, and we find ourselves having better relationships with each other. We're better serving each other, and that applies to everybody: our family, our friends, our co-workers, even our acquaintances at wherever, the grocery store, the guy that we usually honk our horn at in traffic or whatever. We don't honk our horn in that case. Anyway, so, and of course our church peeps, there's none here, it's just me here right now. But anybody really. So this whole process of what we go through in Lent, it's, of course, the most important thing is it's furthering our relationship with Christ, but it does help us with so much else in our life as well, because we just get to think through things so much better, and in a way it calms us down too, I think anyway. I know when I get rid of clutter in my life, holy moly, I can function so much better. I clean up my desk at work, all of a sudden I can focus so much better. I get rid of a lot of loud blah 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 at home, whether it's a TV or even some of that garbage rock and roll music that I like listening to. All of a sudden, just everything just kind of simmers down upstairs inside. So anyway, so it has, the whole Lent season, it has good applications in so many ways, on so many different levels. But back to the crux of this, and that is our relationship with Christ. Now, of course, my background, as many of you know, no church experience or whatever. So I just have a quick story to say. And because I know there are some people watching on here that maybe you're not followers of Christ, or you weren't at some point, or whatever the case may be. So, forgive me, I wrote all of this out earlier, and just so I didn't miss anything. So it may look like I'm reading some of this, and I'm trying not to do that. So anyway, I'm going to go through this quick. My background, my upbringing pretty much had none, zilch, religious experience, education, or whatever. So when I was in college at PLU, that's Pacific Lutheran University, they're down in the Parkland area of Tacoma. This was in the late 90s. And I heard all of these good Lutheran students. You go to a Lutheran school, and I just happened to be in the dorm that had a lot of Lutheran roommates and hallmates, and so anyway, they were all talking about Lent when this time of the year came up, and of course I had absolutely no clue what they were talking about because, well, I'd never heard of it, and why would I never partook of it. I didn't have that background, so I'm kind of like, I don't have a clue what they're talking about. And they're all asking each other, oh, what are you giving up for Lent? What are you giving up for Lent? Oh, I'm giving up this. Oh, I'm giving up that. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so, and I'm thinking, well, what am I going to give up Lent? Am I supposed to be giving something up for Lent? I don't know what it is, so maybe this is just for the Lutherans. I don't know. So anyway, not really knowing what the word Lent was, and of course being a descendant from a long line of smarty pants, when I did get asked what I was going to give up for Lent, well, I was kind of caught like a deer in headlights, and I didn't know how to answer, and so give up for Lent? And so I said, Lent? Now, granted, I did not hold up this piece of lint back then, but I didn't know what else to say. So, and of course, the guy who asked me that question, he just kind of looked at me like, you heathen idiot. I don't think he meant that, but it just, I mean, what else? What are you going to think in that moment? And of course, I respond with a smart-ass comment like this, Lent, So anyway, I had no clue. So eventually I did kind of learn about the season of Lent. And I just from tidbits here and there from some of those roommates and hallmates, and other friends that they had that frequented that dorm. That dorm was also a site of a college age kind of youth fellowship program, and so a lot of those kids were there like every Friday night or something like that. So I kind of overheard a lot about religion when I was there, but didn't really kind of get into the thick of it until I had a friend in grad school years later that got me involved. But anyway, so so going on, not only did I learn a little bit about Lent, but I also learned that it wasn't about Lent at all, and that it had absolutely nothing to do with what comes out of 40 minutes of the dryer cycle, but rather a season of 40 days of fasting, repentance, and so much more, all for some guy who did what seems like some pretty crazy stuff 2,000 years ago, such as walking on water, healing the sick, feeding the masses, all of this for our eternal benefit. That was a big concept for me back in the day, including getting killed for it all in the most gruesome of manners. So Lent kind of came and went for me. I didn't mean to rhyme there, it just happened. And I don't think I really had a full understanding in that day, back in my college days. It wasn't until I came here at St. Barbara's and got involved in one of the classes here that I got to learn all about it. And so anyway, fast forward today, where we are now, and the last item on our agenda is the music for next Sunday's live stream. Now, there is a collection of music that I purchased about, I want to say, 5 or 6 years ago, by Cardell. It's called 40 Hymns for 40 Days. It's actually one of my favorite collections. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. It just is. Sometimes you have a favorite thing and you don't necessarily know why. It's just the way it is. So he put this collection together of 40 hymns for 40 days. And I'm going to play through a lot of it next Sunday. That's the collection I've chosen. But because it is so long, I'm only going to go through about half of it. And when I end, I'm going to end at the hymn, Were You There? It's an old African-American spiritual. Just very, very beautiful hymn. But also kind of a very poignant hymn. But anyway, so I did want to share a little bit about Cardell. He's the arranger of this group of hymns. He has a very tremendous story to tell about his life. He had heart failure when he was very young, and spirituality is a big part of his life. So he relied on that a lot to carry him through his struggles. He writes, and this is in the back, he has this printed in the back of the volume. From the very beginning, playing the piano has helped me access spiritual feelings of peace and enabled me to transcribe emotions I have in my heart for the Lord, Jesus Christ. I believe him. He is the Savior of all mankind. End quote. So this collection was released in 2015. That's 6 years ago. And I think, if I recall correctly, it was released very early on in the year. So those who wanted to purchase it had immediate access to it for the Lenten season. Given the title and the subject matter in many of the hymns, this collection has been a favorite of mine to play through in the Lent season. There are a variety of moods portrayed, and Paul uses a variety of compositional devices and styles to enhance the effects of each piece. One hymn in particular can be a bit of a challenge to listen to, which is the one I said I would be ending with, and that is the African-American spiritual, Were You There? What is challenging about this piece is not so much the time itself and what the text addresses, but how Paul approaches the hymn, in which he takes the initial 3-note motive. I'm going to play that for you. So just those 3 notes, which happen to correspond with the words, were you there? And he takes that motive and he spins it in different ways, changes the rhythm a little bit. He changes the actual pitches, not the pitch order, but the intervals. And he plays with that in different ways. And so he kind of makes a little musical essay on it for about a minute or so at the beginning. So when you hear that, I remember when I was learning to play it, I thought, oh, what is this? Where's the hymn? Where's the melody that I know so well? And I couldn't find it. Except when I realized at some point it was there all along, just in the little snippets. lots of different little ways. I just played some examples for you right there. So you can hear a lot of that at the beginning. And then finally, eventually, we get to the actual melody of the hymn. We get 2 verses of that, of course, with Paul's own spin to it. And then we get a bit of an interlude with more of the questioning, so to speak. And then we get the 3rd verse, and then he closes out with the question. Now, for those of you familiar with the crucifixion, imagine being asked that question over and over and over again. Just imagine that. But imagine being asked in a manner that is maybe kind of sorrowful and plaintive. Meanwhile, think of what you know about that crucifixion. At some point, you're going to start to feel a little uncomfortable in your head, mentally anyway, about what's going on. You might feel a little guilty. I think one of the things about this hymn for me is it really kind of forces me to buckle down and think about that, and think about why that was done, and how grateful am I for it. I don't think I recognized that at first, but eventually I kind of figured that out. Well, anyway, it can be kind of a challenging situation, but, and of course, for those of you not familiar with the crucifixion, just know it was a very terrible situation. Just very, very terrible. The process of his death was over the course of, or his killing rather, was over the course of a couple of days, and wow, it just was really hard. So, but anyway, so I'm closing with that one, and part of that is because of the timing. This live stream is being issued before Easter, so to me it kind of made more sense to close with that right beforehand. And then, of course, the rest of the collection I'll play after Easter. A lot of the stuff after that hymn is a little more on the peppy side, and so probably a little bit more appropriate for after the resurrection. So anyway, all in all, this arrangement is still a very beautiful piece of music, how he put it together. So I hope you enjoy it. So that was 3 things we covered today: the season of Lent, what garbage we need to get rid of, or should get rid of, and Lent, of course, and also the music for next Sunday. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next Sunday at the live stream. I'm thinking probably about the same time, maybe about 3 p.m., but I haven't decided yet, so I will post that as soon as I know. Thanks!